what was before the Big Bang. We carry that word like a pin that holds the universe in place. In calm light, it is a sign that the map fails rather than a place where everything hides. Singularity means where our equations predict infinite density and temperature, and where classical physics breaks. Tonight we rest with that honesty and walk to the edge of measurement, where the cosmic microwave background is our map of beginnings. If the beginning is not a point, then what thread pulls yesterday into today? Cosmology is our careful story about space and time, told with math and skylight. The story we sleep beside is not an explosion inside space, but space itself beginning to expand. Heat thins into structure, and structure breathes out galaxies and the quiet between them. Our instruments listen to that early light, which we call the cosmic microwave background, and it draws a real boundary for knowledge. We can describe the first breaths after that glow with some confidence. Before that, we must move with inference and with humility. Here is our soft human tension put simply. We want to know what came before the Big Bang. Our language says before, as if a clock was already ticking on the wall. Yet our clock is built from the physics that may have failed at the supposed start. So we wonder without strain. If time itself is part of what began, then before is not a normal path we can walk. If before does not exist, how far can a yesterday reach? Could gravity itself flip sign when the universe grows impossibly dense? This is the picture offered by Loop Quantum Cosmology, which grows from the larger idea called Loop Quantum Gravity. In this calm sketch, space is not a smooth sheet, but a fabric of tiny loops with a grain that matters only at extreme density. As a contracting cosmos approaches that density, the quantum geometry may push back. Gravity that draws together at normal scales may act repulsively when everything is crushed too closely. That push could turn a fall into a rise. That turn could be a big bounce rather than a singular stop. What if gravity knew how to break collapse at the threshold? One possibility is that our expansion was born from an earlier contraction that never reached a true infinity. In that view, yesterday was a universe falling inward. Then the grain of space made collapse, soften, and reverse. That could preserve a lawful handoff where the earlier chapter gives motion to the next. What we know with care is this. The cosmic microwave background is the oldest shared photograph. Anything about an earlier contraction must be inferred from later traces rather than seen directly. If a bounce happened, where would its echo hide? We would look for very gentle fingerprints that survived the sudden heat of the first moments of our expansion. The dream is modest rather than grand. Perhaps the largest patterns across the sky might be slightly different than a simple roll of random ripples. Perhaps energy flowed in a way that hints at a turn rather than a start. Such hints would be subtle and debated. The cosmic microwave background remains the ceiling of light we share. Let us answer softly and step forward. If a bounce left an echo, it would not be a loud word written across the sky. It would be more like a faint alignment or a small tilt in the earliest ripples. It could even be a tiny adjustment in how power spreads across the biggest scales. Yet we must speak with care. At present, there is no single pattern that all observers agree is a decisive echo. The safe path is patient listening and the acceptance that silence is also evidence. If this calm science helps you rest, a tap to subscribe is a small effort for you and a great help and deep motivation for me. We can hold more than one picture before sleep. Another idea says that our hot beginning came from a slow and steady preparation rather than a sudden jump. This is the Ekpyrotic and cyclic picture explored by Steinhardt and Turok. It uses a story in which our universe may be one of broad sheets that can approach and interact in a higher dimensional setting. The approach can smooth and quiet the chaos of collapse. Then the meeting provides the energy for a new hot era that looks to us like a beginning. The important feeling is that there need not be a first tick of time. Can a slow preparation light a beginning without a first clock? We must keep the language gentle. The Ekpyrotic view is not a promise of perfect cycles like a pendulum that swings back to the same mark. It is a vision where each cycle may differ and where entropy still matters. The deep claim is that a prehistory can feed the next chapter without a singular stop. The comfort tonight is that different minds can explore different paths yet speak to the same measurements. The shared measurement is still our earliest skylight. What powers the change that turns a before into our hot beginning? In the bounce picture, the source is the repulsive character of gravity at extreme density. In the Ekpyrotic picture, the source is the release of energy when large-scale structures approach and interact in a slow and smoothing way. There is also a third idea that moves by changing how we measure rather than by making a literal collision. Roger Penrose proposes a conformal handoff where the far future of a universe so empty that only light remains can be reread as the next beginning. That is called Conformal Cyclic Cosmology. When everything becomes only light. What does size mean? The insight behind the conformal idea is spare and elegant. If nothing has mass in the far future, then the notion of absolute scale fades. Size is a choice, and the physics of massless things does not care about the ruler we use. Under that special condition, the end of one enormous age can be mapped to the start of the next. Not by smashing matter, but by changing our sense of scale. This is a kind of recycling of geometry rather than matter. Our grounding line remains steady. The cosmic microwave background is our map of beginnings. Each of these pictures answers the same gentle curiosity in a different way. The bounce replaces a stop with a turn. The Ekpyrotic view replaces a stop with a careful preparation and a meeting. The conformal view replaces a stop with a shift in how we measure when only light is left. None of these need a first instant as an edge of time. All of them promise continuity through lawful physics rather than a breakdown. What they share is humility before the data we have. Can we detect an echo at all? Our best and calmest answer tonight is maybe. An echo may appear as a tiny feature in the distribution of early ripples across the sky. It may appear as a particular way that large-scale patterns decide to favor one alignment over another. It may also remain hidden because the first moments of our own hot era were intense and smoothing. The grounding truth is that the cosmic microwave background marks the earliest moment we can observe together. It is a real limit and a gift at once. We will keep faith with measurement without closing the door to wonder. One possibility is that a bounce or a cycle leaves a faint statistical tone that careful analysis may one day hear. One possibility is that different models produce slightly different expectations for how early structure should look when coarse-grained. Another possibility is that future clarity could rule out some of these pictures cleanly. Our known anchor remains the same. The Big Bang singularity and classical general relativity is a sign of a breakdown of known laws rather than a physical pin. The cosmic microwave background is our first shared picture. We can practice a mental example that stays simple and restful. Close your eyes and imagine the universe as a soft film that you can rewind. You watch galaxies drift toward one another as time reverses. You watch temperature rise and structure dissolve. As you reach the brink, your mind expects a hard stop. Now imagine that what looks like a wall becomes a doorway. The film passes through to a prior chapter that is now contracting. The turn at the doorway is the big bounce. The comfort is that nothing infinite was required. Let us return to the word infinity with care. Infinity is a symbol of how our equations speak when taken beyond their trusted domain. It is a guide that says, humble yourself here. The bounce idea answers by limiting density through quantum geometry. The cyclic idea answers by changing the scene so that there is no place where density must truly diverge. The conformal idea answers by removing absolute scale in the far future so that one age can pass its light to the next. In each case, the aim is the same. Replace the frightening wall with a lawful bridge. New listeners sometimes ask if these ideas compete like rival teams. At night, we can let the contest rest. Each idea is a try at the same puzzle with different tools and different frames. Loop Quantum Cosmology tends to the intimate structure of space at the smallest scale. The Ekpyrotic picture tends to slow preparation and a meeting in a larger setting. The conformal picture tends to the long future where mass fades from the stage. We can hold all three in a gentle mental shelf. We can let data decide with time. Imagine time flowing through universes like beads on a thread. That image is not a promise. It is a way to rest with the possibility that our chapter is neither the first nor the last. If a bounce is real, then the thread might be a sequence of contractions and expansions that never require a true beginning. If a conformal handoff is real, then the thread might be an unbroken weave of light learning to begin again. If a cycle shaped by slow preparation is real, then the thread might be a rhythm that peaks and softens across ages. The stronger mystery we allow tonight lives here. Might the universe be older than any single chapter suggests? Might cosmic recycling be a deep pattern rather than a poetic phrase? One possibility is that the end of one chapter feeds the next in a way that preserves some continuity while still creating a fresh beginning. Another possibility is that each chapter is sealed and that only broad features carry over like the form of expansion itself. Our grounding line is steady again. The earliest measurable light is the cosmic microwave background. That is where our shared seeing begins. We can bring the names into the room with quiet gratitude. Ashtekar and colleagues shaped the Loop Quantum Cosmology view of a bounce, where extreme density makes gravity repulsive. Steinhardt and Turok shaped the Ekpyrotic and Cyclic picture, where a careful approach and an interaction give a new fire to an old stage. Roger Penrose shapes the Conformal Cyclic picture, where scale falls away and ages can hand light forward. We speak these names not to settle a contest, but to honor work that replaces fear with structure. We rest on the same ground after each name. The cosmic microwave background is our earliest map. You may wonder about tests, and you may also feel sleepy. That is a good place. A mind at rest can hold uncertainty without a rush to closure. Our main test remains to ask whether any picture can produce gentle features that match the sky we see. Our promise is to mark speculation each time and to pair every maybe with a known piece. When we say the universe could have bounced, we also say the earliest light we measure is the boundary of common sight. When we say cycles may be real, we also say detection is still open. The question that began the night still sits softly nearby. If the universe did not start with a point, then what powered the transition into the hot era we call the Big Bang? The honest answer is that different models offer different engines that all respect physics as we know it, away from the edge. Loop Quantum Cosmology offers quantum geometry that turns gravity into a push at extreme density. The Ekpyrotic path offers a long, smoothing approach that stores energy and then releases it. The conformal path offers a change in scale that makes an end read like a beginning. The second question waits with equal patience. Can we detect its echo? Our best answer tonight is that any echo would be faint, and that we have no shared decisive signal yet. We have a plan that is both simple and slow. Measure the sky with care. Compare small features with the soft predictions of ideas that avoid a singular stop. Hold to the rule that doubt is a friend. Keep the cosmic microwave background as the horizon of shared light. Let surprise be welcome if it comes. Mystery is not the enemy of sleep. It is a quiet companion that keeps the mind awake enough to feel wonder and calm enough to let go. Infinity becomes less frightening when we see it as a caution flag for our equations. Recycling becomes less strange when we imagine a door instead of a wall. Hidden dimensions become less wild when we hold them as a story device that may or may not reflect reality. One possibility is that such depth exists. The grounding truth is that we can only speak firmly about what our earliest light shows us. If you wish to picture the whole night journey in a single image, try this. Picture the universe as a book, with pages so vast that each page is a cosmic age. The first words on our page are written in the cosmic microwave background. The page before ours may exist, and it may be written in a hand that we can only guess by reading the first lines of our own. The binding that holds pages together could be a bounce, or a meeting, or a change of scale. The lesson is modest. The book may be larger than one page. The calm of science is not that it answers every question. The calm is that it asks honest questions and proposes lawful paths. It refuses to let fear of infinity or edges guide the story. It keeps the strongest statements close to what we can measure. It lets softer statements carry labels like could and may. It invites many minds to test and to listen. In that way, calm physics becomes a practice in patience. Now we ease deeper into the long middle, where patience has room to breathe. Think of the cosmic microwave background as a fog that still carries the warmth of the first fire. The fog is cool to us now, yet its memory is precise. It keeps a map of early ripples in brightness that later became galaxies and the calm lanes between them. Any story about a before must pass through that fog without breaking the map. That is why claims are gentle and tests are careful. The fog is our shared witness and our shared limit. In the bounce picture, there is a sweet contradiction that soothes the mind. Gravity, which normally gathers everything, may reverse its mood at the edge. That reversal sounds wild, yet it comes from the idea that space itself has tiny units of area that resist unlimited compression. The resistance grows only when density climbs unbearably high. At everyday scales, nothing changes. At the supposed edge, everything changes. This solves the fear of infinity by replacing it with a smooth turn. The thought may be true. The measurement we trust still begins at the fog of early light. In the Ekpyrotic picture, there is a different quiet. Instead of a sudden jump, there is a long preparation that calms roughness before a meeting becomes heat. The word Ekpyrotic means born of a burning, yet the path to that heat is slow and smoothing. The comfort here is that wildness can be tamed before the moment that looks to us like a beginning. This view does not need a first instant. It needs patience and a large frame. It may be true. Our shared frame of certainty remains the map drawn by early light. The conformal picture invites another kind of patience. It asks us to wait so long that only light remains. If no mass survives, then the very idea of size can fade from the script. When size fades, a distant end can be read as a fresh start because nothing in the physics of light cares about a ruler. This is a law of form rather than a law of force. It is elegant and spare. It may be true. Our footing does not change. The cosmic microwave background is the earliest shore our steps can touch. There is a counter-intuition that belongs near your pillow. The process called inflation may smooth so much that nearly every prehistory fingerprint is erased. That is both comforting and frustrating. Comforting because inflation helps explain why the universe looks so even in every direction. Frustrating because if a bounce or a cycle happened, then inflation might have polished away the clues we want most. One possibility is that some tiny features survived despite the polish. Another possibility is that nothing survived. What is known is that our earliest light aligns well with a gently smoothed beginning. If the polishing is perfect, how can any mark remain? When we listen for faint echoes, we must guard against hearing wishes. The human mind is good at finding shape where there is only chance. That is why independent checks matter. If a small tilt or a quiet alignment appears in one map, it should appear in another map made differently. If it fades under new light, then it was likely a mirage. This discipline does not drain wonder. It preserves it. It lets the few surviving hints grow in strength, while glamour fades. You might ask how a cycle could handle the stubborn climb of entropy. The answer in gentle language is modest. Cycles need not be perfect loops that return to an identical state. They can be rhythms with variations that keep the broad shape while allowing new detail. Smoothing phases can reset structure enough that the next chapter can begin without carrying every scar. This is not a claim that we have measured such a reset. It is a sketch of how a cycle can avoid a strict repeat. Our anchor remains the early fog that sets the scale of trust. The bounce also faces a quiet question. If the turn is smooth, what sets the seed for the ripples we later see? One answer inside this picture is that quantum fluctuations of the field that carries geometry could leave a soft pattern. Another answer is that the turn itself may imprint a gentle order on the largest scales. These are maybes. The known part is that any viable pattern must match the sky we already see to high accuracy. That requirement is a kindness. It keeps fantasy at bay and leaves room only for careful imagination. The conformal path holds a calm riddle of its own. If the future thins until only light remains, how do we connect that airy silence to the busy heat of our earliest time? The proposed bridge is not built from matter, but from shape. When there is no mass, there is no absolute ruler. When there is no ruler, a vast end can be scaled to look like a bright start. This may sound like poetry. It is in fact a strict suggestion about which quantities still hold meaning when mass disappears. The data we lean on is still our early map of ripples. Each vision carries a different posture toward the word beginning. The bounce says the beginning is a bend. The Ekpyrotic rhythm says the beginning is a handoff after a calm approach. The conformal picture says the beginning is a change in how we measure when only light remains. None demand an absolute first tick. All prefer continuity that respects law. This eases the old fear that came from taking a singularity as a literal point. It replaces fear with pathways that may be wrong yet still noble in their intent. Let us breathe with the core questions again so they can sink into sleep. If the universe did not start with a point, what powered the shift into the hot era we can describe? The bounce offers repulsive gravity at extreme density. The Ekpyrotic path offers energy from a slow approach. The conformal path offers a scale change when only light survives. Can we detect an echo? A soft maybe. If there is an echo, it is faint and must live inside the map of early light we already trust. There is a gentle way to think about hidden dimensions without letting the mind race. We can treat them as rooms in a house that may exist behind closed doors. If the doors are real, their effects would show up in the hallway we can walk. If we do not see those effects beyond chance, then the rooms are likely fiction or hidden too well to matter for now. This keeps curiosity alive while grounding it in what the hallway reveals. It is a fair way to dream without drifting into certainty. Some listeners feel a tug toward stories of an absolute first cause. Tonight, we keep that door closed out of respect for the boundary we set. We promise to work within physics and to leave creators and purposes outside the room. That choice is not a claim against meaning. It is a focus choice. We ask what physics can say when laws are extended with care. We accept that at the earliest line our light runs out and inference begins. We rest right there without stepping beyond. Others wonder about life and memory across cycles. We will keep that wish gentle and unspoken in detail. Our bounds forbid portraits of specific life before our page. The safe way to hold the thought is to say that continuity of law does not imply continuity of living stories. The maps we can test talk about ripples and heat and smoothness. They do not carry names or cities across a chapter. That may feel cool to the heart. It is honest to the data and kind to sleep. We can add one more calm image to steady the night. Think of the universe as a sea that slowly changes its tides. A tide that rises becomes a tide that falls and then rises again. The water is never the same, yet the rhythm is familiar. In a bounce, the tide turns at a depth set by the grain of space. In a cycle, the tide follows a larger shoreline that guides the swell. In a conformal handoff, the shore itself is read anew when only light remains. The sea is vast. Our boat is steady. Close your eyes and place the cosmic microwave background above you like a ceiling of ancient glow. Every model must respect the pattern painted there. The tiny, hot, and cool patches are like notes in a song that later swelled into galaxies. A wrong note would echo across time and break the harmony we see now. That is why new ideas are tuned by ear against this song. The match is strong already for a smoothed beginning. Any before story must be a harmony that does not spoil the chorus. When minds disagree, they often do so over small words that carry heavy loads. Words like before and beginning and cause. In this room, we lighten those words. We let before mean only what our clocks can bear. We let beginning mean only a change in behavior where our equations shift from unknown to known. We let cause mean only the lawful link that carries one chapter into another. This gentle narrowing keeps us from making claims that the data cannot support. It leaves wonder intact and error reduced. The names we spoke earlier return with a bow. Ashtekar for the bounce through quantum geometry. Steinhardt and Turok for cycles built from long preparation. Penrose for ages linked by scale when only light remains. Their pictures differ, yet all refuse a brutal edge. They all honor the cosmic microwave background as the earliest shared signal. They all treat the singularity as a symptom of incomplete law rather than a literal pinpoint. This consensus of posture matters. It tells us that even rivals agree to step past fear toward structure. Now we approach the quiet of the night where awe can be fullest without hurry. Imagine the entire history of our cosmos as a thread that never needed a first bead. Imagine that the glow we call earliest is a doorway we can describe from this side, but never cross in person. Imagine that what we call the beginning is one of many handoffs that preserve law without demanding a single first breath. This vision could be true. What we know is that the cosmic microwave background stands as our oldest shared signal, and that beyond it we must proceed with care. And yet our earliest light still draws a line we may not cross. That is not a defeat. It is a boundary that keeps our wonder honest. We can sleep knowing that modern cosmology holds several beautiful structures that remove the sharpness of a singular point. We can sleep knowing that these structures are not final answers, but careful proposals that respect measurement and reason. We can sleep knowing that tomorrow the same sky will wait for new eyes and new patience. We can breathe and let the question live. If this calm journey helped you rest, a quick subscribe and a gentle like are small for you and a great help and deep motivation for me. Before your eyes close, I will gather the thread once more. The singularity in classical general relativity is a signal that equations have reached beyond their range. Loop Quantum cosmology replaces the stop with a bounce through repulsive gravity at extreme density. The Ekpyrotic and cyclic picture replaces the stop with a slow preparation and a meeting that energizes a new hot age. Conformal cyclic cosmology replaces the stop with a change of scale that lets an end become a beginning. Each vision could be part of reality. The cosmic microwave background remains our early sky map. If you hold just one line in mind, let it be this: we may not need a first instant to make sense of everything we see. The universe could be continuous across a turn, a meeting, or a rescaling. Our place in that sweep is humble and bright. We look back to the oldest light we can measure. We build ideas that replace fear with bridges. We rest there, and we let curiosity continue without hurry. Sleep comes more easily when a mystery is framed with care. The motifs we visited carry soft power. Infinity was a warning sign, not a destination. Cosmic recycling was a patient image for continuity. Hidden dimensions were a story door that may open or may remain closed. None of these are claimed as facts tonight. All of them are ways to keep the mind open while holding fast to our earliest evidence. The questions we began with can rest on the nightstand. If the universe did not start with a point, what powered the shift into the hot era? The answer could be a bounce from quantum geometry, or a slow approach in meeting, or a change in scale at the end of an age. Can we detect its echo? The answer may become clearer with time and with careful study of our earliest light. For now, we honor what we know. We accept what we do not yet know. We close our eyes. Tomorrow, you may wake with a new angle on the same puzzle. That is the beauty of wonder that does not rush. The edge of knowledge moves because many minds choose patience over drama. Tonight we touched 3 visions that keep the beginning from being a hard stop. We did so with gentle words and steady anchors. That is enough. Sleep well and let the universe keep turning its quiet page.